Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back to our weekly lunch and learn session. A very warm welcome to all of you today. My name is Rosnita from Excel Academy. Today we have Mr. Morgan, and he will be sharing about data analysis using Power Pivot, focusing more on pivot table. Yes, so if you have any question regarding this topic, do leave your message in the comments section, and Mr. Morgan will answer them right after his presentation. All right, let's not wait anymore. I pass this floor to Mr. Morgan.
Okay, thank you so much, Rose. Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone who are here. Okay, my name is Morgan. I do Microsoft Office trainings here. Okay, bila kita cakap Microsoft Office, it comprises of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and also so many other apps lah. Okay, but my core is on Microsoft Excel. Now, before we go into even the pivot table, right? Okay, let me give you some explanation. Some of you might already been using pivot table. Okay, so I'm here to show you some of the tips and tricks of pivot table and the weakness that pivot table has that you have to be very careful, and especially when you're doing formularization. Kita kan boleh buat formula dalam pivot table. Kalau kamu gunakan pivot table, kita kena tahu dia punya weakness dia, tahu, okay, kelemahan dia, so that you do not produce wrong report. Okay, I will show it to you later what it means. Okay, now the pivot table, right? The function of pivot table is to summarize data. Okay, we have to know that. Contoh, kita mungkin ada data macam ni, alright? We might have the whole data. Okay, let me share my screen first. Okay, for example, this kind of data. Alright, so this is a transactional data yang saya ada daripada January sampai December. Right. So kalau kita ada data ni, it doesn't mean your data might be very good, but it's pointless if you cannot analyze your data. Or basically we say if you cannot summarize your data. Okay, that's the actual term lah. Kalau kita tak dapat summarize the data, you cannot do decision making. This is where the pivot table will come in. The most important tools dalam Excel is pivot table. So basically, if you're an Excel user, you must know pivot table. Okay, I'm very sure everybody will be, all your HODs and all that, all your departmental people will be expecting you to know about pivot table. Sebab kita nak buat report, kita nak buat summarization, kita nak bagi something to our HODs or to our board of directors so that they can make some decision. Okay, we need to have some statistical, concrete statistical report for them to make decision. All right, so here let me give you some tricks and some tips how actually pivot table works. Okay, like what I said, this is a transactional data from January up to December for the year 2020. All right, so I have here by the region dan semua bandar-bandar yang terlibat dalam transaction tersebut, and I also have the category and also the product. Here I have a quantity column and also your unit price, and I do not have an amount column. That means quantity darab dengan unit price. So I will need that in my analysis. Tapi malangnya in my raw data, bila saya download daripada saya punya system, I do not have the amount column. Okay, so I'm not going to touch my source data. Okay, normally in my class, right, what I will always advise my users is, my participants is, let your source file to be as is where is. Okay, so jangan kacau your source. Kita ada tricks yang lain di mana kita boleh bawa masuk dia punya required columns or required calculations. I will show it to you all later. Okay, now to insert a pivot table, everybody knows is under the insert. Okay, kita akan jumpa pivot table lah. Okay, and another one more thing, guys. This one I always will tell the participants is, stop highlighting your data before you do any selection. Bukan saja untuk pivot table, it can be even for your chart, it can be so many other functions or formulas. Okay, jangan buat sedemikian. Kamu just letakkan cursor dalam kawasan data in one of the cells can do, no problem. Okay, then we just click the pivot table And you can see that the pivot or Excel have already selected the range for us. Okay, so dia akan tolong kita untuk highlight. So just ensure that you do not have a blank column, you do not have a blank row if you want to do this. Okay, dalam pivot table, it never allow us to have a blank column. Okay, so it has already identified your range. And you have two options here, new worksheet or existing worksheet. Okay, we're going to start with the new worksheet lah. Okay, then the last option here, it says add this data to the data model. Now this one I'm going to leave it first because this is related to Power Pivot. Okay, jika kita nak dia punya pivot table ni to be masukkan dalam data model atau dalam Power Pivot, then you tick this. For now, we just ignore this. So I'm going to select new worksheet and I'm going to click OK, and that's it. Okay, so we will get our pivot table lah. So now you decide. Dalam pivot, kita akan ada 4 kotak atau 4 quadrant. Okay, we have values, we have rows, we have columns, and finally we have filters. So the most important quadrant atau kotak is going to be your rows. This is very important. The kotak values ni, if you notice properly, is showing us a sign of macam sum kan? Okay, itu bermaksud kalau kita masukkan any column yang ada numbers, you can perform some calculations. Okay, it can perform some numerical functions. Okay, macam sum, count, percentage, itu semua dia boleh buat. Kalau kita masukkan column yang ada numbers, that's what it means there. For the columns and filters, later I'll show you how you can utilize this column and filters. All right. Okay. So now I want to select by let's say I want to know by city how is my sale. Okay, by quantity. So I'm going to put city, and I'm going to put sorry, not city first. Okay, later after I do the calculation that we put in city. For now, let's put product first and quantity. Remember, kita tak ada amount column yet, ya. So kita tak boleh analyze by sales revenue lah. Kita tak boleh buat by revenue yet because we do not have a column. Our raw file didn't have any column for amount, so we cannot bring in the amount yet. So this is the by quantity lah. Okay, how was our sale for 2020 from January up to December? So kalau kita tengok sekarang, the sales here, it is not sorted by the quantity. Okay, nanti kita belajar macam mana nak buat sorting. Okay, here, this is what we call it as column labels, and this is what we call it as row labels. Now, you need to rename it. You need to rename your column labels here and also the row labels so that it is more user friendly. So sekarang kalau saya tukar ini kepada quantity, sorry, and I enter, it is not going to allow us to be renamed. That's because for the column labels, right? Ini semua adalah column labels kan? Dia tak akan bagi kebenaran untuk have identical name like here. You need to make it unique. Okay, you cannot have the same identical name. That is the column label problem here. So for quantity, instead of that, I might be just put that QTY. Basically means quantity lah. So dekat sini pula is all my products. You see here, for the row label, you can have identical name. You see the word product, ada kat sini kan? Okay, itu no problem. Only for the column labels, dia akan bagi, dia tak akan bagi kebenaran lah. Okay. Alright, so I want to sort right now. Okay, to sort your data, I show you a very simple place where you can go and do your sorting or filtering. Pergi kepada column yang kita nak sort, just right click. You can call it as one subcenter because most of our settings it's here. Right click sahaja kita akan dapat. So I'm going to select sort. Lepas ni kita ini sort biasa je lah. Okay, whether you want to sort by ascending atau descending, I'm going to select descending. So that's it. So your data is sorted, right? And I also would like to have a thousand separator. Okay. So if you want to do a formatting in pivot table, okay, go to the respective column, right click again, one sub center, and select number format. Okay. In this number format, you can choose what kind of format you want. Currency pun boleh, number pun boleh. I prefer to have number because when I put currency in my, when I'm doing an analysis, it takes so much of a space. Okay, so I prefer to have a number with a thousand separator. Okay, with two decimal point if you want. If you don't want to see a decimal point, you just put the 0. Okay, and here you can also choose how do you want the number format to handle negative numbers. If you have a negative numbers, you prefer to see negative number dengan warna merah tanpa depan dia ada hyphen kan, then you select this lah. But if you want to have negative numbers with the dash, you go ahead, you select with the dash. Okay, I'm going to leave custom for now. Okay, the default punya, click OK, and that's it. So I have a thousand separator with a 0 decimal point. Okay, so those are my quantities. I also want to know another thing. What is my number of transactions that has happened for each product? Okay, berapa kali kita berjaya menjual lah. So I can bring back my quantity again. Okay, and right click again. Remember now I want to know the number of transactions for each product. Tenang je. Summarize value. You see the word says summarize. Remember just now I was stressing the point that pivot table is used to summarize data. Okay, so that's what they call it as summarize. Okay, dia digunakan untuk summarizing your data. So I want to summarize by count, and that is the number of transaction for each product. Maybe I put the transactions lah. Trans lah. Okay. And those are my transactions. Okay. Senang saja kita dapat dia punya info Alright. So I have my quantity. I have now number of transactions for each product. Okay. Now I'm going to insert one more pivot table. Let's say I want to insert it on the same sheet. Okay, tadi kita ambil option untuk masukkan dalam sheet yang baru. Okay, which if you already done. So let's insert in a new sheet. Sorry, on the same sheet. Itu sheet number 1 lah. Insert pivot table. So right now saya dah tahu saya akan masukkan dalam sheet 1. So I'm going to select existing worksheet and just browse to sheet 1 because I want to insert it here. And saya nak masukkan dekat bawah sini lah. Okay, maybe I give about 4 rows gap and masukkan dekat sini. You just required to select a single cell untuk memberitahu mana kita nak masukkan pivot table yang kedua. Just one cell can do, and I'm going to click OK. Alright, dia tepat-tepat dia akan masukkan pivot table yang kedua di tempat yang betul. Okay, so I'm going to put a product again. Okay, let's put category sekarang. Okay, and also dia punya quantity lah. Okay, so this is the order quantity total there by quantity. We have not gone into sales yet, revenue yet. Okay, so that is by category. Tapi saya tak nak tengok macam ni. Saya nak tengok mengikut bulan. Mungkin I want to find out which category is higher because we want to go to find out the seasonal category, right? Okay, seasonal, how is the demand? So, tenang je. You can select your order date. Remember the order date has the date, right? Okay, and my date is nice format, right? Iaitu mengikut Excel punya date format. So I'm just going to select that and I'm going to put it under the columns, and that's it. Cantik dia akan masukkan dia punya what is it, layout dia, okay, mengikut bulan. So I put it under the columns, so it's under the columns here, like this. Okay, since I have my order date like that, dia akan masukkan one group called month. Okay, one called month. Why there is a month there? Because pivot table tu dia pandai tau. Dia dah auto detect yang tahun yang ada di sini is 2020 sahaja. That means you only have for the year 2020. So the options that it gives us in your pivot is months. Sebab dia boleh break down the analysis by month. If you happen to have few years punya data, let's say for 5 years, from 2020 until 20, just say 2019, from 2017 to 2022, let's say. So that's about 5 years kan. So dia akan ada lagi satu level called years atau and also quarters. So you are free to analyze. Maybe you want to see quarter by quarter. Okay, maybe you want to see your analysis. Let's say for the 5 years, right? All the data that performed for the quarter one untuk 5 tahun. So dia akan tunjukkan. Mungkin you want to do the analysis by quarter. Quarter one, how's the quarter one for all the 5 years? Okay, so it will give you the analysis. All right. So here we only have for 1 year, so I only have a month, and also I have an order date sebab kita boleh see all the transaction that happened for each month lah. But I do not want to see the pecahan. Okay, if you want to keep it, you can keep it. But I prefer to remove it. So you see what I'm going to do here at the columns. I'm going to remove the order date because I don't require the each date punya transaction. I only want to see as a month. So ini order date ni saya keluarkan. So as I maintain the month, so I will have the data that looks like this. But pivot table look like this. Okay, so it has given us a breakdown and how it looks like lah. How's our data performance by monthly. Okay, so ini by the exact number of quantity lah kan. If I do this, okay, remember this so this is what we call as column, this is what we call as rows. Betul kan? Semua tahu. You see, when we do an analysis atau kita buat reporting, I prefer to see it in percentage because by seeing in percentage, it's much more easier. When we do when you do a report to your boss lah kan, okay, or you are doing any what is it, presentation, right? When you give the audience the value, it's going to be very tough for them to analyze with other values. Okay, we are a human beings. Kalau kita dapat beri lesser information or straightforward information, it's much more easier for them to decide or to see how the data is. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you how you can transform or change these values into a percentage. So it's easier for our eyes to analyze. Okay, one stop center again. Then you have here show value as. Okay, ada banyak dekat sana. Okay, don't worry. I'm just going to concentrate on this top three first. Okay, ini tiga dah cukup dah untuk kita analyze. Percentage of grand total, percentage of column total, percentage of row total. Let's go and find out for the first one. Percentage of grand total. So this is your grand total, 8325. So when I select percentage of grand total, so semua percentage yang kita sedang lihat ni, dia akan total up and come out with this. Ni nampak dekat sana 100%. Okay, so the disbursement is based on that. So it's all depending on your reporting. Macam mana kamu nak report? Is it going to be based on this? For me, no, I don't want this way. Okay, I don't want be by grand total. Maybe I prefer to see how is my bar. Okay, let's say this is bars, right? From January to December, saya nak pergi check macam mana dia punya demand. Which month has the highest demand for bars? So that I can forecast for the following year. So this is bars. Right click, show value size. So bars, cookies, crackers, snacks. I'm gonna select by column total. Sorry, row total. So you can see the row total here for the bars is showing us 100% grand total dekat sini mengikut setiap row lah. So this is how the macam mana dia punya progress dia lah. Okay, from January up to December. To make things a bit spicy or easy for my eyes to see, I'm going to just use a conditional formatting here for my data bars that shows actually which month was the best. Saya tengok pun saya dah tahu dah June was the highest, 16.66. So why is June? Maybe there's a reason there. Okay, maybe there's a raya for that season. So Hari Raya time, June, July, you can see that's actually the demand was a bit good, June and July. All right, and September also is good. Maybe at the time it's Diwali time. Maybe that's the thing. December seems not to be good. Maybe bulbs doesn't look so good for Christmas time. Okay, senang kan? So that is how you can actually analyze your data so easily. Just like that, you can get your analysis done secara cepat. So the analysis that you are seeing right now is all based on the products, the categories. Okay. Let's say kita nak tengok by month pula. Okay, let me remove the conditional formatting first. Okay. Let's say sekarang, saya tak nak tengok by rows. Saya nak tengok by month. How is my sale by month? Alright. That means for maybe you have all these products, so kita nak tahu kita punya jualan hasil dia bulan mana. Throughout all the categories, tak kisahlah which category ya. Tapi kita nak tengok dia punya by month, no problem. Show value size by column total. So sekarang percentage 100% ni is by month. Okay, so we can decide, okay, how do we want to see our sales. Snacks is the lowest. Maybe let's go for December now. Let me go and check. Maybe I want to see how's the. Okay, so cookies was good. Maybe for Christmas, cookies is the highest sale. Okay. So kita boleh analysekan sedemikian lah. So you want to go it by row or you want to go it by column. Okay, by monthly also can, by category also can. So all this is very simple. Kita tak payah buat formula pun. We haven't gone into a formula yet anyway. Alright, so this is how your column will come in. Okay, so put macam mana kita nak tengok kita punya report and put the wise choice lah. Okay. Now, lastly dekat sini is the filters. Okay, dekat sini kita ada dua. I show you two types of filters. The first filters, let's say I put it my region here. Region, and maybe you want to put your product also can. Kita boleh letak lebih daripada satu filters. So when you put your filters, you put your east here. So that is your data that belongs to east. Maybe the products for arrowroot. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Doesn't seem to be so much there. Let's say carrot. Okay, so this is how it shows lah. Let's say I select all. Okay, so dia akan filter accordingly. Right now my data is a bit less, that's why you're seeing that way. But I prefer dalam pivot table kan, saya tak suka gunakan filters macam ni because tak professional sangat lah for me lah. Okay, so what I can do is dekat pivot table ni, okay, dekat sini kita ada satu call slicer and also timeline. Okay, just watch. I'm going to use it as slicer. So remember that now was region and product. Let's say I select region and city lah. So dia akan masukkan slicer macam ni. Ni satu. Resize it nicely. And I have one more also dekat sana called timeline. Okay, so what they does, if you want to go and find out, okay, macam mana was my, let me remove this. Okay, how was my performance of Boston? Just click on the Boston. Lah. So that is your Boston. This is LA. This is New York. This is Santiago. So your data get filtered easily. Kalau kita nak tengok by region, go ahead. Just click the region. So that is your region's performance. If you want to see how's your January, just click January, February, March, April, May, and so forth. You can also see it by quarters. How's my quarter one? How's my quarter two? How's my quarter three? How's my quarter four performance? Okay, ada banyak option kat sana by month. If you have by years, sekarang kita ada 1 tahun saja. Kalau kamu nak tengok dia punya ni by uh, quarter by quarter atau by year, can go ahead. No problem. Okay, it's all up to you. How do you want to see your data? Okay, ini dipanggilkan sebagai slicer. Slicer is actually a filter by using buttons lah. Okay, that's what it means there. Okay, so you see a lot of wonderful things you can actually use in the pivot table. Ada banyak lagi. What I'm showing you is actually the surface part here. Okay, now calculations. Okay, let's go into our calculations here. Like what I said earlier, di sini kita ada pivot, kita ada raw data tanpa amount. I need to have an amount. I'm going to insert, okay, let me show you in a new pivot. Okay, untuk masukkan calculations, let's say I select product. Then remember the calculation for revenue is quantity darab dengan unit price. Basically, ini darab dengan ni lah. Quantity darab dengan unit price, kita akan dapat amount. In pivot table, you can actually insert a calculated field, yeah. Okay, under pivot table analyze, kita ada option untuk insertkan calculated field. Okay, so dekat calculated field ni, let's say I put the revenue. Okay, I want to find out, I want to insert a new column for revenue, which is quantity darab dengan unit price. You can just select this quantity darab dengan unit price. So let me add it. I'm going to click OK, and that is my revenue. But okay, so this is how you do it lah. Okay, I'm not going to go into too deep, but I'm just going to show you something here. This is wrong. Okay, this is very, very wrong in pivot. Just because we did the calculation right doesn't mean this is correct. You can only use calculated field dalam pivot table if you put transactional. Okay, for example, I put my order date. Okay, let's say I put my order date. Okay, line by line. Kalau saya ambil line by line, then only I will get my answer correctly. Okay, line by line, then I get my answer correctly. If you put grouping, okay, macam mana summarize yang kita buat tadi tu, it's going to be wrong. I prove it to you why I say it's going to be wrong. Okay, let me show you by product. Let me show you by product. You see the total revenue here yang ditunjukkan dekat sini. Is 2.2 million. Let's go and find out whether this is going to be, this is correct or not. Jomlah kita buat seperti biasa. Let's say I put here a column called revenue. I put amount. So quantity darab dengan unit price. I just want to double check whether the answer is correct. Jom saya sumkan dia. The total revenue is actually 17,998.9. But in my pivot table, it's showing me 2 point something, which is very good lah. Kalau betul-betul kita punya sales 2 million plus, tapi padahal 17,000 juga, tak kecampaian lah. Okay, patah hati. So this is one of the weakness. Okay, we gotta understand that pivot table punya cara, mechanism dia buat calculation is this. Let me show you why First of all, kita kena faham kenapa dia tiba-tiba dapat 12 juta padahal it's 17,000 plus. The reason is pivot table ada satu kelemahan. Ini kelemahan dia is it will take, okay, you see, dia ambil jumlah ni dan jumlah ni and dia pergi darabkan. That's why you're getting 2 million plus, which is totally wrong lah. Mana kita boleh buat analysis macam ni? Let me show you something here. Another thing that you all have to be frightened of on pivot table. Saya ambil satu produk, let's say saya ambil brand. If you're a manufacturing company or you're a production or even services, sometimes you have your key account, key customers. So for your key customers, your price might be a bit lesser compared to the others. So same thing here. You see, for this brand, untuk certain customer, we have certain unit price. Okay, berubah. So macam mana kita boleh jumlahkan dia? The way the pivot table has given us, it's going to be totally wrong. Let's go for brand lah. Okay, let's go for the same product brand. Okay, jom kita pergi summarize just for brand lah. Okay. Okay, it's showing us 13,411.53. Dia punya revenue dia. Which is going to be wrong again, guys. You know why I say wrong? Okay, let's see. Okay, let me use a simpler formula to get how much is the amount here. Use some product lah. Okay, that means dia akan campurkan easily for me lah. So don't need to waste our time. So you see that is actually 1,343. That is actually the sales, 1,343. That's the revenue for brand. Not like what pivot table is showing us. Not this, what I showed you earlier. Okay, it's showing us 13,411. Terlalu jauh sangat dia punya ni. Sebab dia pergi jumlahkan dia. Okay, dia pergi jumlahkan. You see here, this is the sum. This is the sum. Dia darab. Just dia main taruh aja macam ni, dia taruh. Okay, mana boleh macam ni? It's not going to be accurate. Right? So be very careful when you're using this thing here. Right? You do any way also, it's going to give you the same answer. It's going to give you a wrong answer. Unless your pivot table summarization is row by row. Mungkin kamu masukkan your invoice number. So your invoice number can be calculated row by row because your invoice number is unique, kan? So it goes line by line. But if the fuller going to group it, then you are in trouble. Okay, then you have a problem there. Your answer is going to be 100% guaranteed it's going to be wrong. There is a way to do it, but it's super complex. Okay, it's going to be super complex. There's so many steps that you need to do in order for you to get the total correctly. So this is where, when people started to have problem, Microsoft came out with a better solution, which is called Power Pivot. Power Pivot handles this very well. For your info, right, Power Pivot ada dalam version 2016 dan ke atas. 2010 dan 2013 tak ada, tapi kamu kena install. But my advice is tak payah buat dalam 2010 dan 13 because there's a lot of features that is not available. Okay, they are free, yeah. Okay, they are free. For 2010 it's already there. For 2016 to the latest one is already there. All right, it should be there on your screen. If you do not see it, if you do not have the menu, tapi make sure kamu punya version of Excel 2016 dan ke atas lah. Okay, kalau kamu nak tahu version yang kamu sedang gunakan, let's go to File. Okay, you can actually go to File and check under the account. You can already, it will identify for you what version of Excel that is installed. So when I select the account, so I'm using 365. Okay, so yours might be, you go and check yourself lah, right? Kalau tak ada keluar power pivot dekat sini, no problem. You kena enablekan dia. You can just right click here, somewhere on top here. You can just go here and just right click and select customize the ribbon. And you should have an option called Power Pivot Display. Okay, so you can enable it by clicking there. All right. Now, what's so big deal about Power Pivot? Now, remember, Power Pivot is not another pivot table. Power Pivot is actually a mechanism to handle your data. Pivot table is still a pivot table, eh. So jangan ingat dia dua pivot. Power pivot means it's a separate pivot table punya features. No, it's actually a mechanism, okay, untuk buat calculations, untuk buat any summarization secara efektif. I'll show it to you here. So power pivot, I'm going to put this. I'm going to show you here now. Uh, I'm going to show you one example here for the revenue. Let's see how it works. Okay, I'm going to put it inside. Okay, in case you have never seen a pivot, power pivot before, I'm showing you here. This is optional, guys. Okay, this is optional. Kalau kamu buat a lot of calculation in pivot table, then power pivot is something will be very useful for you. All right. If you don't do calculations, you just do the analysis macam biasa, then of course you don't need to use lah. All right. But if you ask me, means there's a lot of advantages for you to use pivot table, power pivot. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put a revenue here. Right. Revenue column here. The revenue here is actually is going to be my quantity darab dengan my unit price, and it will automatically insert. Remember, I'm not touching my source. This one is actually done in my Power Pivot. And I want to insert a measure. Okay, this is what they call it as measure lah. So formula lah. Formulanya adalah sum of revenue. Okay, sum of revenue. Okay, let's say this one I put that as amount lah. Okay. Okay, which is right now is showing us 17,000 plus lah. Okay, so this is the same amount that now we showed there. Okay, so I've done my revenue. I'm done with this part. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a pivot table here. Okay, saya nak masukkan pivot table yang baru. Remember, just now I created a column called amount. It's already reflecting here. Now watch here, product, amount. See the brand. Now it's giving us the correct amount. All right, not like how pivot table works. Pivot table dia punya mechanism, dia punya engine, dia as long as you can group it, dia akan jumlahkan and it will do a multiplication. That is going to be wrong. Another thing also, kita pun boleh gunakan the if function. Okay, if you all know the if function, right? Okay, the if function dalam pivot table is quite scary. Sebab dia punya total is not going to be correct. Walaupun dia bagi you the jawapan, in case if you are using a very high tech punya pivot solution, kita boleh masukkan the if dalam kita punya formula. Tapi you all try and see later, if you are using this in your calculated item, your total is going to be wrong. Ya, subtotal lah. Ya, subtotal akan salah punya. Confirm dia akan give you the wrong subtotal. So why it is like that? Of course, during the training nanti saya akan tunjukkan lah. Okay, when we are learning about the power pivot, okay, then I will show you the differences by using the if in pivot table and also the power pivot. Power pivot is more accurate. It's accurate. Not more accurate, it's accurate. Okay, pivot table is not accurate, especially in the subtotal. All right. So that was just a glimpse of power pivot. Actually, you can do so many wonderful things in power pivot. You can bring in, you can also do, can you all do a VLOOKUP in pivot table? You cannot. But power pivot can do a VLOOKUP. For example, let's say kamu nak, in your pivot table, kamu nak buat satu commission. Okay, let's say commission, and you have commission scale. If you jual produk A, kamu dapat 20%. You jual produk B, kamu dapat 3%. You produk C, kamu dapat 25%. And we want the transactional data to automatically pergi cari how much was what product is it, and you do the calculation yourself, and I want the output to be in pivot table. If you are doing it manually, I tell you it's going to give you hours. Kamu kena buat banyak proses just to do that. But I'm giving you come for the class, you're going to get a solution that you create this one time in your life, and after that your commission calculation based on your product or any calculation lah, is going to be 100% automized by using Power Pivot. So that is how Power Pivot will work. Okay, it's a fantastic solution lah. Okay, it's a fantastic solution for your to enhance your pivot table. Okay, so like what I said, your engine, the fella do the calculation all in Power Pivot, the fella do all the engine in all in Power Pivot. Tapi dia punya final output, it is still coming back to pivot table. So that's why I said don't take Power Pivot as a new pivot table that looks extravaganza, nampak lagi canggih, so kita glamour sikit. Sebenarnya tak ada. Dia sebenarnya adalah satu engine untuk buat calculation, untuk buat macam VLOOKUP semua, okay, and give you the final out, throw back the final output into your pivot table. That fantastic, is it? Okay, now one more last thing. Okay, in your pivot table, yeah. Okay, now I'm coming back to pivot table again. It is your grouping. Let's say we have a product and we have a quantity. Biar saya sort by ni. If you are doing a group, sometimes you want to see by group. Maybe this one, everything that is above 1,000, it's going to be something that you classify as high movement lah. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select group. You see, it has grouped it. So this one, I'm going to name it as high. So all this is high. So for the one that is, let's see, where is it? Just select ni aja lah. Okay, macam ni. Contoh je. Then I right click and I group it back. So this one is my medium. And these two, just highlight, right click, group it. This one is my low. Okay, that's a testing aja lah. So that's how you get your, how you can group it. So now you have your grouping by high, medium, and low. You're gonna select it, right click, and do it. If you want to see this way also can. Remember, I put this one is known as product 2. Did I rename it as product 2? So that's my distribution there. Carrot. Okay, so all that it depends how do you want to see it lah. Okay, macam mana kita nak tengok, you can do it. Okay, or you want to put the product here. This one, put it here. Also can. You decide how do you want to summarize your data. So semua cantik macam ni. Okay, so coming back to our pivot. Okay, so this is a glimpse lah, guys. Okay, how's the training is going to be. Okay, we have two separate modules. We have two separate courses here. Pivot table is a course. Power pivot is another course. All right, so don't get confused here, because Power Pivot saya dah tunjukkan tadi is just a glimpse what you can do, calculation of cost one of it also, how you can utilize it, how you can create like macam VLOOKUP within pivot table, which is impossible in your normal pivot table. Tak boleh, 100% tak boleh buat, tak boleh gunakan. Tapi dalam pivot table, Power Pivot boleh. Power Pivot pun boleh import text file, CSV file, Excel file, okay, directly from your database. Dia boleh directly, you tak payah convert. Okay, if you let's say your source file is TXT, kalau kamu gunakan Power Pivot, kamu tak payah import. Dia akan terus ambil data as it is. Okay, nowadays guys, the trend is Microsoft have developed such a way that they're asking the users tak payah kacau your source file. Don't waste your time doing any changes in your source file. Just biarkan sahaja macam tu. Kita boleh tukar dia punya, kita boleh import atau kita boleh tukar dia punya structure in Power Pivot. No problem. So in future, and also do remember this, it's going to be one time only you're doing it. Remember that's now I said the commission calculation, right? And one time you dah buat dia punya file tu, you save, pada bulan depan, kalau kamu nak buat again the calculation, you no need to redo the steps again. You just click refresh saja dalam your pivot table, the whole thing gets updated automatically. Ada dia punya teknik dia. Alright? So this is the beauty of pivot table, guys. Okay, and also a power pivot. Power pivot is something that if you have been using a pivot table already, power pivot also something that you should take. Okay, it's very good. It's very effective, and your calculation, your the times taken for you to complete an analysis, a report, is going to be a friction of your time. Maybe it's just going to take you after this 30 seconds to 1 minute to complete your pivot table analysis. All right, seriously, I'm telling you, I'm not joking for that. Some of you have attended my Power Query classes and my Power BI classes. You will understand what I'm trying to tell you. All right. So that's it from me for today. If you have any questions, please do highlight. I will give you some idea about all this. Okay. Please go ahead, guys. I'm open. I am open for a Q&A right now. Okay. One more thing I wanted to show you here. Once you have already done your pivot table, Sumar, kan, okay, you can actually come up with a dashboard that looks wonderful like this. Okay, this is actually a simple. It's the same data I took from earlier. Okay, you can actually come up with what we call as a dashboard, simple dashboard. Okay, this is all the slicer. Okay, you can see the calculation also I've done here. Inissimo is actually I take it from pivot table, which is not going to be easy, but it's actually easy. But you just need to know the technique dia lah. Kalau kita dah dapat technique, this one very easily you can get. Now watch, if I select, let's say anything like this, so do observe, all my data are changing. Okay, my sales. Okay, how much is my sales, my carrot? So it's showing me how is it. Okay, east and west, my east seems to be better sales. So east got 61%, west is getting 39% from my carrot sales. Okay, and my total sales is 4,347, and my top three sales month was this. June was highest for the carrot. Oh, I want to see it by New York. Okay, so this is the New York sales. Okay, so this is the sales. Okay, so east side, west, I don't have anything in west. Okay, let's say I go for potato chips. Everything is there. So for the month of April was the highest. So this is the total sales. How was the okay east and west? Okay, lebih kurang 50-50 lah. Okay, so you see how you are analyzing it easily. Your data is just being. This is just a normal pivot table. I never even used a power pivot yet. Okay, so it's giving us so much of details. Okay, overall performance very nice. Okay, all this is possible in pivot table, guys. Okay, dia senang saja. You just need to know the technique. If you follow the technique, you get it. Okay, and remember, this part all is not how to do this and how to use get pivot data. Okay, there is something called get pivot data, guys. In case if you have not seen it before, there is generate get pivot data, right? The if you know how to use, if you do a lot of dashboard macam ni, then you need to enable this generate get pivot data. It's very useful. Okay, ada cara nak gunakan. Okay, ada sebab pun dia ada bagi kita this options generate get pivot data. Okay, I will teach you all in detail. Okay, because we only have 1 hour. Okay, I'm very sure for most of you are already hungry. Okay, dah perut dah beragam kan, dah nak pergi makan. Alright, so I open now for you to ask me any questions. I'll feed you the information. Please go ahead. You can chat or you can on your mic and ask question as well.
Okay, let's see if you have any question.
Janganlah segan. And pivot table is not technical at all, guys. Okay. Apa yang saya tunjukkan tadi is from a non-technical perspective. Okay. It's all just how to initiate dia punya analysis sahaja. Okay. So it is not technical. Anybody, any level can pick up pivot table.
Okay, so I guess there is no question for today.
Yeah, looks like it.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Morgan, for the
Welcome.
great sharing. Also, thank you everyone for joining our lunch and learn session today. As shown on the screen right now, these are our upcoming public course. Yeah, we will have our face-to-face Microsoft Excel Intermediate and Advanced level on coming 19th and 20th April. So for those of you who are interested to learn more about Microsoft Excel or any other courses, follow our social media platform for more details and contact us for registration. And if you missed today's session, you can watch it on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. With that, see you again next week, same time with a different topic. Okay, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Mr. Morgan.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.